What's going on YouTube, and welcome to Anteiku Nation, my home, your home for all things gaming and all things Cardfight Vanguard Zero. Today I want to take a look at another set 2 deck profile. In this video we're going to take a look at the new set 2 Tsukuyomi. Now this deck I predicted was going to shake up the meta, it was going to be meta defining, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to see where this deck stands and how good it really is in the current meta. But before we begin guys, make sure to hit that like button if you like this video, smash that subscribe button, and hit the bell so that you can be notified each and every time that I upload a new video. And don't forget guys, I am still doing a 100 sub GameStop gift card giveaway. All you have to do is be a sub to the channel to participate. And with all that being said guys, let's dive into this deck profile. Alright guys, so let's touch on Tsukuyomi. Okay, this is a deck that I predicted was going to change the meta. It was going to be the Oracle Think Tank deck to play going into set 2 and the May seasons of Cardfight Vanguard Zero. I've been playing this deck here and there. I will be honest that this is not the deck that I've been climbing legend with and doing my rank matches with. It's a deck that I've been kind of having a lot of fun with when I do play it, but at the same time I've had a lot of aggravations with this deck, and there's a lot that goes into that. I'm a firm believer that a deck tends to resonate with the player, and I guess I should explain that a little bit better. That I feel like certain decks choose certain players. I feel like certain it's not that the deck chooses the player, but that I just feel like certain people just do better with certain decks, and it may not always be the deck that you're like, oh, I really want to play this clan. It's just that deck just so happens to run really well with you. Now with that being said, Tsukuyomi was a deck that I was super excited for, and I still like this deck. I have a lot of love for it, but unfortunately it's not my favorite. In my deck I run 4 copies of the grade 3 Tsukuyomi. I run 4 of the Evil Eye Princess Uriel. And I'm only running 1 backup Amaterasu as a Tekken. Reason being I only have 1 copy. Now if I had more, I would maybe go 2 this and 2 Amy and 2 Uriel. Okay? Uriel's pretty cool. When placed, if your soul has 6 or more cards, choose a random card from your opponent's hand, bind it face down, return it to your opponent's hand at the end of turn. That's pretty simplistic. You flop her down, as long as the ride chain has gone off, then you're going to be binding a card. Preferably if luck favors you, you bind one of their PGs or the only PG that they have, and you can swing for game depending on where you're at in the match. This deck is good. It's solid. It is solid when it goes off, when everything aligns, and I mean the ride chain. Okay, and that's what I want to touch on. I mentioned this in my previous video of my Garmor Galahad video, so if you guys haven't, please check that video out. I had a lot of fun with that, and it was I think it was super informative, and hopefully it gave you guys a little bit more insight into that deck. But anyway, I digress. Moving on. In this deck, I've had issues with the ride chain. Either I don't get the grade 1 in my opening hand, or even when I don't, I still don't even find the grade 1, even in the searchability of Godhawk Ichibiyoshi. His ability states, at the start of your ride phase, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, ride a Goddess of the Crescent Moon Tsukuyomi, put the rest on the bottom of your deck. If you rode, you cannot normal ride during this ride phase. I mean, that's pretty standard. All ride chains have some kind of stipulation. You look at this, you search for that, and you grab the next grade. And it pretty much was a built-in safety net so that you could potentially just ride to the next grade without getting grade locked. And I thought that concept was actually pretty legit. I mean, it's pretty cool in a game where you don't want to brick. It's like in Magic, you don't want to get mana screwed. You don't want to not have your mana so you can play your land or whatnot. And I thought that was just a way of like Bushiroad trying to give us a way to prevent grade lock. But anyway, so looking at the grade 1, Goddess of the Crescent Moon Tsukuyomi. When in place, if Godhawk Ichibiyoshi is in your soul charge 1. Again, on the Vanguard Circle, at the start of your next ride phase, you look at the top 5 cards, and you ride the grade 2, Goddess of the Half Moon Tsukuyomi. And you put the rest on the bottom of your deck. If you rode, you cannot ride for that ride phase. Pretty simplistic, right? This deck is just like the Garmor Galahad. You know, there's two things that are going to happen here, guys. If you already have the grade 1 in hand and you actually search and you get the grade 1 and you superior ride it onto Ichibiyoshi, or, you know, going up the ladder of grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, that's netting you two things. Again, there's two positives here. One, you're getting an advantage because you have the one copy. You're thinning your deck is the other positive, okay? Because you're minusing the chance of you not getting a, you know, a whiff on your drive checks or your damage checks. And I think that's a wonderful thing for this deck. I think ride chains are really awesome about that, because one thing, you're pulling cards out of the deck, you're tutoring it out of the deck that you want, as well as giving yourself a higher chance and probability of actually hitting a trigger when you want to hit a trigger. Now, this deck is different though than some of the other decks. Okay, Tsukuyomi does some cool little shenanigans. She likes to stack your triggers. That can be good and it can be bad in Zero. It's good in the fact that, okay, if you dig deep enough, you get down far enough, you're going to hit a nice chunk of triggers. You're going to know what you're going to hit, because you can easily just look at your trigger icon down there in the bottom during a match, and you can say, okay, I've seen this many triggers, I know this many triggers are on the bottom, and, you know, you can mathematically start, you know, strategizing how your late game is going to be. And that's awesome. That is awesome. And I think that's a really cool concept. Now, what fuels that, okay, is your other grade 1 here, Oracle Guardian Blue Eye. When this unit boosts, if your soul has 6 cards or more, draw a card and put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So again, if you got triggers in your hand, you're like, oh man, I really don't want this, you know, I'd rather have this in the deck, then okay, you draw a card and, you know, you put one into the bottom of the deck. So from there, you start, you know, calculating. You start trying to keep up with what you got, what you don't got, you know, what are your probabilities. All right. And that goes a little bit further, because now we have a grade 2 also. Does the same thing. 9K grade 2, Faithful Angel. Again, when this unit attacks, if your soul has 6 or more cards, draw a card and put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. Alright. Again, you're digging through your deck, hoping, you know, hopefully you're gonna get your PG, or you're gonna get a grade 2 that you can block with. You know, you really want to get your blockers so you can defend yourself with, and you want to just keep stuffing your triggers back into the deck. That's the whole shtick behind Tsukuyomi. You draw and you stack triggers. You draw and you stack triggers. It's pretty simplistic. It seems like kind of complicated. Everybody's like, oh, you gotta kind of use your brain. Not really. Not really. The deck does what it does when, and here's my key point, when the deck goes off. So provided you've gotten, you know, all the way up to our grade 3 goddess here, Full Moon Tsukuyomi, if your soul has 6 or more cards, you counterblast to draw 2 cards and put a card into your soul. That's really awesome. I mean, the ability to just immediately draw 2 cards, especially when we don't get to keep drive checks in Zero, is amazing. Like, you can just plus so hard. You don't plus as hard with this card as you did in the original game, where we kept drive checks, because then you got a fistful of cards, and you're just doing some crazy shenanigans, you know, and you're stacking triggers, and you're like, you know, I've got cards to defend with for days, and I know I got triggers coming up, and I've got all the units that I need in my hand, so I'm sitting really pretty, and you're not going to touch me because I'm going to control the flow of this match. You do, but you don't get to control the flow of the match as much in Zero with this deck. I, on the other hand, I do run 3 toms. I've seen various builds on YouTube, you know, the Facebook community page, as well as Discord servers and stuff, and I've seen various builds with the grade 2 lineup. Not everybody runs 3 toms. Not everybody runs 2 toms. Some people only run 1 tom. It depends on what you want to do. I like Tom as a finisher. I like him still as my finisher for this deck. He's just too good not to run. And I want to see this card. I want to be able to use this card in the late game when I need to. And I think 3 copies. I do have 4, but I'm running 3 for the moment. I think that's a pretty solid lineup for your grade 2s. You know, you got your toms, you got your 12K attacker, providing you have 6 more cards in the soul. Okay. Now, You look at your other grade 3 real quick. You got Secretary Angel. She's doing the same thing. So we've got grade 1, 2s, and 3s are all doing the same thing. That when this unit attacks, if you have 6 or more cards in soul, you draw a card and you put one at the bottom of your deck. Awesome abilities, right? Like, who wouldn't want to draw and be able to, you know, stuff triggers back into the deck and do crazy Oracle Think Tank shenanigans with card manipulation. But here's where I have my issue with this deck. Okay, I have played it where I did not get the grade 1. Okay, I've had to ride some kind of grade 1 because you don't want to be sitting on a grade 0. So I ride one of these other beauties, you know, Cocoa or Chocolate or, you know, Blue Eye, and that feels bad. That feels bad because, okay, let's just give you another scenario. Let's say I ride my little grade 1 Crescent Moon here, okay, but then next turn I don't have these. They've damaged. They got drive checked, or I just don't even get to see them in the search. So now I gotta ride Tom. Now I gotta ride Tikitsuhime, or I gotta ride, you know, Faithful Angel here. All of a sudden, all of this is shut off. All of this is vanilla. Vanilla. Now you could say, well, Anteiku, that's why you have CEO Amaterasu. And that's true. That's true. She will help fuel the soul. But at that point, you're waiting. You're waiting to climb back up to get your cards in the soul. Now, you could also do one other thing. Okay, here's some backup that I was doing, and I actually didn't like the consistency of the card. And that would be Oracle Guardian Red Eye, which is the grade 2 equivalent of this. Except for when the hit happens, Red Eye lets you soul charge 1. So yeah, there is some backup, and you know, in that case, it just feels bad because at that point you're trying to climb your way back up out of the clutches of defeat to make your deck do what it was initially built to do, and it just feels bad because when you flop this down, it's only a 9K. It's a vanilla 9K. Even with CEO Amaterasu, because let's say you ride her, then you've got what? You've got 1, 2, 3 in soul, so then you charge, you got 4 in the soul, and again you're climbing, you're trying to get back what you want because it's just not going off the way that you wanted. And I only want to point that out. I'm not saying this from a salty or tilted point of view, guys. Please don't misunderstand. I'm just saying that every deck is as good as its fail condition, and it depends on how bad your fail condition is. In this deck, if the ride chain does not go off, your entire deck just shuts down. Suddenly, you're sitting on a vanilla Vanguard deck, and that feels bad when you've got Dimensional Police with the Enigman or Dayusha. Dayusha doesn't even need Enigman. It's just like the other units in the deck are like, here, we're going to help power you up and do what you want to do by gaining crits and power. You know, when you're facing off against Razors, and they're, you know, immediately get to perfect Razor, and they're sucking up Razors into the soul as well as the ones they already had, and they're sitting on their 23K and a crit, you know, Vanguard. Easy conditions to meet. Or, you know, look at Kagero. Kagero's sitting on Steel Dragon Blockade. As soon as he hits field, boom! He's doing what Steel Dragon Blockade does. He's shutting down your interceptors. This deck in general, I don't like it as much as I do the Garmor Galahad. The consistency for this deck, for me as a player, and how my experience has been with this deck, has not been as enjoyable as I thought it was going to be. I was super excited for this deck. I knew how good it was in Generation 1 of the original card game. And I knew the potential behind it. And while that potential is still there, do not get me wrong, the potential is still there. I just think you have some better options right now in set 2 and 3. Because you have, I mean, heck, you've even got Blau, and Blau is actually pretty amazing in and of itself with this Blau loop, and even the ride chain for that is very forgiving because, you know, you ride the grade 1, it immediately fetches you the grade 2. You don't have to search, you get the grade 2, and if you have the grade 1 also in hand and you flop it down on the rear guard, you immediately can ditch a grade 3 for the grade 3. So it's an exchange, but you're guaranteed you've got the pieces of your ride chain. That's amazing. That is amazing. Galahad for me has just been more fortunate. It's been lucky. It's shined upon me as a deck that favors me, and that I don't have a whole lot of trouble getting the ride chain off. But with that being said, though, guys, the Tsukuyomi deck is still very strong. You know, you do get to draw 2 cards just for 2 counterblasts, so that's a blast per draw. So I mean, it's an even exchange there. You can draw the pieces that you need. You still do have Silent Tom as your finisher. And Silent Tom is still amazing. He is still just game-breakingly good because he's like, okay, you're 5 damage, and if he's got a booster behind him, you know, if you can actually swing with him and you know that it's going to hit, then that's just game, because chances of them hitting heal is very, very limited. It's very low, especially if you already know how the flow of the game's been and you know what triggers they have seen or not seen. Then you know if that's going to finish the game. That's just like with yeah, it's just he's amazing, guys. I lost my train of thought there for a minute, but Silent Tom is still just amazingly good, and I do think that he is going to be a finisher for quite a while for Oracle Think Tank. I don't think that's going anywhere. Even next month when we get Solus OTT. Now, if anybody is not familiar with Solus OTT, it's a fun deck. It's completely opposite of this deck, because you don't want Soul. In order to get your abilities off, you don't want to have Soul, and so the starter actually, when you ride the main grade 3 Scarlet Witch Coco, will allow you to pull the starter out, and then allows you to strip the rest of your Soul out, and then you draw cards based off of not having a Soul. And then your other units get bonuses and buffs for not having a Soul. So yeah, hence why it's called Solus OTT. So guys, if you don't know what that deck is, if you're new to Vanguard, look into it. Google it. Look it up on the Wiki page. Scarlet Witch was a very fun deck. I had a lot of fun with that one back in the day in Generation 1. And it was a powerful Oracle Think Tank deck. I don't think it was as good as Tsukuyomi. Now the question I have to ask myself, will it be better than Tsukuyomi and Zero? How will it fare compared to Tsukuyomi? Or will it be just as good or on the same level as Tsukuyomi? When you contrast and compare the 2 decks. Now, you can make modifications to this deck, guys. Don't get me wrong. This my build is not set in stone, because if I had the ability, I probably would go up on Amaterasu. And I probably will, because next season, beginning next week, or this week, depending on when the season ends exactly. Yeah, it'll be going into next week. Anyway, she's going to be our new legend rank, you know, card to fetch out by climbing legend. So like, I do want to get like 2 or 3 copies of her, so we'll be trying to farm for her. I would probably make adjustments here. I would take out 1 Uriel or 2 Uriel, maybe only run her at a 3 or 2 of, because while she's good, she's not game breakingly good. Now when she actually ditched the lowest one of the lowest grade cards in your hand, that was actually pretty fantastic. But now that she doesn't do that, now it's just a random card from your opponent's hand. You bind it face down, so no, you're not guaranteed to hit that PG. But if you get to far enough in the late game, they're holding 1 card and they've been holding on to it like, you know, for dear life, then you know it's a PG. And then she's going to be a new Silent Tom in a sense, because she's going to be like, well, I'm coming at your face and there's nothing you can do about it. So she, in a sense, is also a finisher too for Tsukuyomi. You know, Tsukuyomi does your draw engine. She gives you your card. She's just not your main line of how you finish the game off. It's Uriel or Silent Tom. They're really good. They're really good. And you know, Silent Tom doesn't care if Tsukuyomi went off or not. He's still doing his thing. He's going to be Silent Tom. Uriel, however, she wants Tsukuyomi to go off. She does. She wants Tsukuyomi to, you know, go all the way up to grade 3 in the appropriate order and have 6 soul. And again, there are ways to fix it. Back in the day, I did see people who ran the red eyes as well as the blue eyes, so that, you know, they're drawing cards, putting cards back, and then they're feeding the soul in case things go bad. I mean, and one could argue, well, you could go down to Getsahime for the red eye, but then that just feels bad because this is a strong attacker. To Getsahime is very strong. I mean, she's the 12k as long as the deck goes right. Otherwise, she's just a 9k vanilla. So yeah, guys, we run 4 PGs. We run 4 the Crescent Moon. I did tech in the 2 Cocos. I'm not entirely sure you actually need them, but you know, you could put something else in there. I mean, I don't know what you'd want to put in there, but because Coco is just so good to be able to look at a trigger or the top card and see if it's a trigger and then decide what you want to do with it is just really powerful. That's always going to be a powerful skill. So yeah, guys, please don't misunderstand this video. Please don't misunderstand it as a salt video, because it's not. I just want to be fair. I want to be fair that this deck is good. It is strong. I just think right now we still have better decks right now. And I think my own predictions for the meta were a little off, and I'll openly admit that. You know, also real quick, I want to touch on this too, guys. You know, I'm running 4 draw and 5 crit, and I do that in case things don't go right. Because I still want to be able to draw cards, because if this doesn't go off, I'm not drawing cards. So that's a backup, because 5 crit is still pretty strong in this deck. Now, a lot of people do go 9 crit, 4 heal, and that's perfectly fine, guys. Play this deck the way that you want to, and if you can make this deck work in your favor the way that I've gotten Garmor Galahad to work for me, then rock it, guys. Rock that deck. You know, have fun with it. Enjoy yourself. And please don't misunderstand this video to be a tilt fest, because it's really not. I just wanted to be honest about the deck, that it does have its drawbacks. It has some very bad drawbacks, because when a deck goes vanilla on you, that feels bad. It feels bad while your opponent's over there, you know, just comboing on you, and they're getting their abilities off, and they're doing the things, and you're just over here, well, I got my little 9k. I got my 11k Vanguard. But that's all I'm doing. You know, I'm going to hit you for just whatever I'm doing. It feels bad. It feels bad. But anyway, guys, I don't want to dive in, you know, just drag this out. But anyway, that's it for this part of the video, guys. If you'd like, please stay tuned. I do have in-game footage of a match that I ran this deck against. I can't remember who I was going up against, as I've gotten some of my video segments a little confused, because I've did a lot of pre-recorded matchups just so I can help, you know, have footage for you guys. But in the video, I did win the match, and it does display how this deck performs. It shows you exactly what I want to show you. It shows you what the deck can do when it goes off. It shows you what this deck is capable of and what it wants to do, and that I'm happy with, because I want you to be able to see, so you can decide for yourself, do I want to play this deck? Is this the deck for me? Is this right for me? And if it is right for me, how can I modify it? How can I make this deck better? How can I make this my play style for this deck? And so rock that, guys. Rock that hard. Do you. You know, don't let anybody, not me or anybody, tell you how to play a deck or play this game. You play what you like. You play it how you like, and have fun with it, because that is the importance of this game, is to have fun. So with all that being said, guys, until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and stand up, my Vanguard.
Let's sing a song full of hope, full of pain. Why don't you sing along, my friend, for it's our last refrain. Forever young, ever strong, ever brave. Memories like this never end, no, they don't fade away. So when I'm gone, oh, when I'm gone, I'll be right there, close to the sun. Keep holding on, keep holding on, and I'll be right there, close to the sun, close to the something more, we won't forget your names. The tide is high, say goodbye, we set it sail, and all those midnight secrets told, we'll take them to the grave. So when I'm gone, oh, when I'm gone, I'll be right there, close to the sun. the sun. Close to the sun. Keep holding on, keep holding on. And I'll be right there, close to the sun, close to the sun. Getting stronger every day. Keep on pushing through.